This is Randy from Kion, and today I'm here to walk you through the benefits of using Kion and ServiceNow together to fully automate your cloud operations in a single platform and integrate that with all of your existing workflows. First, Kion has an application certified inside of the ServiceNow store. This application is completely free to you as an end user and includes all the information that you need to configure, install, and get started with this integration. See our other videos for more details around how to configure it, the ins and outs of the integration, and all of the back-end code. Today, let's focus on the benefit to you as the customer. Installing the ServiceNow app is incredibly easy, and the benefits are very great. Let's now look at what the workflow is behind this integration. For those that know ServiceNow or know Kion, we're going to deep dive into both of those today. So the purpose of this workflow in particular is to bring your cloud account creation from a manual workflow or a completely customized one into something where you get the benefits of ServiceNow and the approvals and workflow engine alongside Kion's ability to automate and set security policy and controls, identity and access and least privilege into your cloud environments, FinOps reporting and policy, and that continuous improvement across things like savings opportunities, notifications, or enforcements around budget overruns, and that continuous monitoring and fixing of any of your cloud misconfigurations. So, what this looks like first is that we typically see something like the service catalog item. This service catalog item, or within your ServiceNow service portal, allows you to customize and configure what the fields are that you require for end users to request new cloud accounts. By default, we'll go through that today, what the number of fields are that include things like where in your environment this application should live, who's going to pay for it, how long you need this application to run, and all kinds of approvals that may come from that. Essentially, once a user walks through and requests their project, what we essentially have in ServiceNow are a number of approvals from both cost center approval to OU owner to maybe there's a cloud engineering team that kind of finalizes everything before it actually hits all of the different APIs. From ServiceNow, we have the power to hit a number of APIs from all of your identity sources, whether that's talking about SAML or SCIM or OpenID or native LDAP. But what we're going to focus today is the integration with Kion. Once approved, ServiceNow hits Kion to create a new Kion project, provision the new AWS account or Azure subscription or resource group, your Google Cloud project, and align to the different funding sources or budgets that are going to pay for that cloud workload. By simply doing that, all of the native Kion functionality kicks in. By this new project being added to the OU within Kion, essentially what ends up happening is that cloud rules or all of your baseline infrastructure gets deployed and your guardrails are set. Your financial enforcements engaged, so setting up enforcements to know when you're at 70, 80, 90% of budget, and all the triggers and actions that may happen when you cross those thresholds get engaged. And then lastly, all of your roles are provisioned, mapped back to those users or groups, and all of your least privilege access is now in place into each of those CSPs. So essentially, by default, that means that all of your infrastructure as code templates deploy, whether that's configuring your security services, your VPCs and networking, deploying all that infrastructure that you might need, and doing this via popular languages like CloudFormation, Azure Resource Manager templates, or others. In addition to that, Kion will leverage and deploy all of your SCPs to restrict certain services, right? Computing only within the US, potentially from certain actions or certain regions that you might want to allow via SCPs, regardless of the number of AWS organizations that you may have out there. In addition, Kion will share out all of your infrastructure. So any of your customed or hardened AMIs will be shared out to accounts. Any of your custom service catalog portfolios or service catalog products will be shared out for your developers to be able to use that new account as quickly as possible. In addition, for those who want to chain multiple systems together, your webhooks will trigger out. So Kion has the ability to pass information and contextual information about where that account lives, what the infrastructure might look like on that account, access keys, if so desired, to have those shared out for your workloads or pipelines to run, and any other account metadata that helps to run, Terraform, Code Pipeline, or whatever other CI/CD systems that you may want. Lastly, the IAM roles get deployed for your proper trust policies, least privilege access, your GCP IAM roles deploy, all of your Azure roles get provisioned, policy definitions are added, groups are mapped, and all of those end users. And as mentioned before, all of those financial triggers get engaged for automatic notifications or automatic spend enforcement actions. And ultimately, right, what we're going to show today is that the output of that is that you have Kion's ability to give you your executive level dashboard across spend and access and compliance. You get full financial visibility and control with the ability to dimension, filter, and break down spend however you may need. Full scanning, security and compliance posture in place to see, what your critical versus medium vulnerabilities might look like, how you're trending over time, and full identity attestation to show what roles are out there and who has access to them. So hang in there today as we drill into all this information for you and show how it all comes together. So after configuring Kion, the first thing that you'll see on the end user side is within your service portal, there will be a new area here to request a new Kion project. Within here, we can see that this Kion project asks for a bit of information. First, we want to give this a project name. So here we can put in our application. So I'm going to say application example A as my project name. I'm going to choose whether it's an AWS, Google, Azure, OCI environment. I'll choose AWS for the purposes of this and choose which organization I want to create this new AWS account in. In addition to that, I will see all of the OUs from within my Kion environment. If I pull up Kion as an example here, we can take a look at what this example organization looks like. Within here, we can see we've got our company A within corporate IT, marketing, right? Research and development. Maybe we break down into something like our biomedical research area, and ultimately see, we have two different applications, a cardiovascular research as well as an asthma research application with different projects in here. Here we can see within cardiovascular, for example, we do not have a cardiovascular research production project. And so let's pretend today that the application that we're going to be making should fall within cardiovascular research. The benefit here of deciding where this shall live is that, again, we benefit from the context that that gives us. We understand that by falling within cardiovascular research, right, this needs to be something where we compute inside the US. We use services only approved by HIPAA. We have a very specific account configuration for this type of accounts, and we have some security and compliance baseline scans as well. All of that is just contextual based off of where this application shall live. So, by me choosing cardiovascular research, which is synced with my Kion to pull all that information, I'm essentially setting my security posture and my infrastructure without me even having to necessarily know that as an end user. Here, I'll set a project start date to be in this near term here. I will add an end date sometime next year as an example, just to have, and then let me go ahead and set my budget. So I think I need $25,000. I'm going to pull from the cost centers within ServiceNow here. So I'm going to use my engineering, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this is for Abraham Lincoln, and this is Abe's cardio vascular research project. So as an end user, I can add this to cart and continue to add as many new applications as I need, but I'm just going to go ahead and order this now. So when I order this as an end user, I will be notified that it is in a stage that is waiting for approval and ultimately some fulfillment. And I see that I have a request number here as well. So to an end user, now they've received notifications to let the process play out. Flipping over, however, into the back end of ServiceNow, let's service this request and show what that looks like. So when I come into my Kion application now, I can see that I have an open request. Here I can see the request number was for the system administrator. It's opened by the system administrator. And within here, I can see that I have a requested item. This requested item, when clicked, will show me all of my information that was entered here. I can redo any of this within the backend as a system administrator here. I can overwrite this, change the budget values, or anything that I may need to do. But I'll also notice that this has kicked off our first bit of approval. Within here, I can see that as a system administrator, it skipped the first approver, which was the OU owner, which is me as the admin. But what I can see is that it went over and looked at the cost center here and who owns the cost center. Fred Letty, in this example, is the manager of engineering. I, as an administrator, am going to simulate his approval here. But in approving this, what is going to end up happening is that it's going to open what is called a catalog task. Here I can see that a task was created and again can be assigned to your cloud engineering group or a budget manager or anybody within ServiceNow that you believe should be able to manage this. Here, this task is designed for that team to confirm all the values are correct. Now's the time to override that, make sure that the funding and cost centers all aligned, approvals are in place. And by closing this task, that will ultimately kick off the automation process. When I close this task now, the end user will see that it moved to the fulfillment stage. Here, I can go back now to Kion and see that there's nothing yet in my org chart. However, I can search for that application example A, and I can see that the first thing that was created was a funding source. This funding source is named after the RITM, so we can trace that back from ServiceNow. We can see that it was created from ServiceNow. This will leverage the API key that was given to my ServiceNow integration and set that funding amount for $25,000. What we'll also see as we start to browse to the financials tab is that this created a new project for me under the cardiovascular research OU. When I take a look at this project, it falls within the cardiovascular research OU. If I view this project in the org chart, you'll notice that now I have this new project. And again, just by this project existing inside of the organizational structure, all of my security and compliance posture, all of my baselines was all set for me as soon as this account is ready to go. Digging back into that project, I can see that on the financials tab and going to budgets, I can see that my future budget was set for me beginning in September for that $25,000, just as I've asked for it. But I can also see that I'm benefiting again from all of the things that come through the Kion org chart. Again, each of those cloud rules are in place. All of my cloud access and inheritance is here. So I can see that my security auditors have access to this account. All of my global admins are here. My research and development team and R&D security have access to this, and I have been assigned to a number of these roles once that account is ready to go. In addition to that, I can see that my enforcements have been in place so that when I spend more than $1 million in this whole research and development side of my organization, I'm going to enact the system freeze rule to prevent people from standing up anything new inside of this environment. All of my savings opportunities that are enabled inside of Kion are all also ready to go here, and we'll begin monitoring and scanning this environment. In addition to that, I can see that all of my security and compliance scans are queued up and ready. So my CMMC scans will happen, my NIST 853 scans will happen, all of my custom savings opportunities and Kion best practices will all begin to scan on this account as soon as it's ready. Now we can see that this brand new account has been added both to our AWS side and our AWS organization, as well as added into Kion, fully ready to go. What's really great is that we can see that this account has all of its IAM roles have been provisioned to it. I can see that R&D role, that auditor role, and that administrator access that I had set up before are all in place. Now I have access to federate natively from Kion into this account where I'm in the AWS console. I can see that I've fully leveraged an IAM role provisioned by Kion in this brand new account. And I can see that as I get started here, all of those great baseline architectures and infrastructure are starting to deploy into my account. I see first Kion put the role in there so I could begin to manage it. And now all of those cloud rules are deploying their infrastructure into this account. Similarly, if I go into a service like EC2, which is an approved service under the restrict non-HIPAA approved services, all is well. I can see what instances, if any, would be running in this region. However, all of my guardrails are in place. So now, even though I'm logged in as an admin, when I try to flip over into the Canadian region, I'll notice that my IAM policies and my IAM access has kicked in to restrict me down to all of the cloud rules and security posture that have been in place, such as restricting non-US regions or just restricting HIPAA approved services. I can also see within here that other infrastructure might have been shared out to me as well. I can come into my service catalog. I can see that there are products that, let me come back. I can see that there are products that should be shared with me in my approved regions. So when I come into something like Northern Virginia again, I can see that my multi-AZ LAMP architecture or my Ruby architecture have been shared with me as approved products and services by HIPAA. Similarly, if I were to go into my EC2 side again and look at all of my AMIs, I can see that there are images that have been shared with me for my base OS, again, based off of where that application lives inside of the hierarchy of Kion. So this is how you can leverage all of the power and workflows of ServiceNow to see that my project was created. That on the end user side of of this, my requested item is now in a closed complete and completed stage, alongside all of the great preventative controls, direct access, and automation that you get from Kion. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and please reach out to somebody at Kion for more information if you'd like to understand a little bit more about how this works and how this can be customized. Thanks.